Clubhouse community. I'm thrilled to meet you all on yet another interesting implementation story from around the globe. I'm Siuli Kingsley, your host, and with me here I have a truly remarkable individual from the Middle East. Abhishek, could you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hello, my name is Abhishek, and I'm a senior pre-sales analyst for managing products at Elitser Technologies. And I'm thrilled to be here at the Zoho campus today. We're here for the partners meet, and thank you very much for having me on this podcast.
Welcome to our podcast, Abhishek. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you for asking. How about you?
I'm good too. How's your experience so far in India?
Uh, I am from India, but coming to Zoho campus is always special because on a very, very personal level, it feels like I'm back in university, seeing all the young people around me. And so yeah, it's quite refreshing to come to Zoho campus and especially to Chennai.
So, Abhishek, could you give our listeners a little bit of a background into what you do on a daily basis in Elitser?
Okay. So before I tell you what I do on a day-to-day basis, I can give you a bit of background as to what Elitser does. We are the sole distributors and partners for managing products in UAE, and we operate in few other regions like Bahrain, Bangladesh, and so on and so forth. What I do on a day-to-day basis is I handle the pre-sales team, and I have few members who report to me. But essentially, any customers who are interested in managing products, it's my job to basically give them a technical presentation. But overall, it's just listening to the customer's requirements and recommending the right products. That's what we do.
So Abhishek, you come across a lot of endpoint management struggles and challenges on a daily basis, right? So could you tell us about unique challenges that you've come across that you were able to solve using Endpoint Central or the UEMS suite of products?
Okay, that's a good question. Uh, so since we work in pre-sales and it's our job to technically give the right product to the customers, we've started to believe that there's no one size fits all approach. Every customer is different. Every customer's requirements are different. Every customer's challenges are different. So first of all, listening to what their pain points are, listening to what the challenges are, is the key part of it. And then recommending the right product, because in UEMS, as you know, right, we have the Patch Manager Plus, then we have the Endpoint Central, then we have the Security Edition, then there's the MDM, then there's Vulnerability Manager Plus. So we have so many options to give to the customers, but what would be the right fit for the product and for the customer, but at the same time, how would it remove the challenges that they faced and how we were able to address the issues that we're facing is always the important critical phase of the customer engagement itself. Now, as far as challenges that were mitigated, I'm going to not name the customers. I can give you certain immediate things that can come to my mind. A customer having a closed environment wherein everything is on a dark side without any internet connection. This is more for a secure customer itself. And then they have a small zone which is outside on the internet zone. They wanted to manage both those things within a single endpoint central or basically a single device management platform itself. With Endpoint Central, we were able to do some kind of custom configuration for them, and we were able to meet those requirements. And this is the beauty of managing products. And essentially, what the Endpoint Central team has been doing quite good in the last 3 to 4 years, because there's the global requirements, but at the same time, there are certain niche requirements. And for security customers, if it's a closed environment setup, this is something that the team at the product level has done an immensely good job, and the customer gets to have the benefit of that, and we get to go and talk about these in forums like this.
Thank you for sharing your experience with us, Abhishek. So for the next question, could you share your personal favorite feature or solution in UEMS suite of products?
So as a user of the product, I have certain favorites, but let's say if I have to pitch to the customers, there are certain favorites that I would like to always highlight to the customers. So as a personal favorite, the browser security module, which is within the Endpoint Central, is a very, very good feature, and that allows the browsers to be secure, but at the same time, it allows the system admins and the security team to basically cut short any loopholes which are there. This is one of the very small modules of the whole platform, but this is something that I am personally very impressed with that. As far as talking to the customers, we don't just talk about patch management and software deployment as the starting points. We go into patch management, software deployment is something that the platform does as is, but the things which it does on top of that, the antivirus, the browser security, the threat management, these are the things that we like to talk about, and the customers are willing to listen to that also. And when I talk about customers willing to listen, that's one thing. Customers willing to implement, that's another thing. But then their feedback, which is coming back, is a truly the loop which gets completed, and that is something which is quite a remarkable feat that we see in the products evolving at the same time customers accepting the new features also, which they thought it could be possible in different products.
Okay. So while we're on the topic of endpoint security, were there any security incidents or vulnerabilities that you had come across in your experience with your organizations that you're dealing with, and how did you face it, or how did you go through it?
Okay, another interesting question. So again, so yeah, this is a potential customer who's using the enterprise edition of Endpoint Central, which is no longer existent, if I'm correct. They've renamed the editions. But at that time, they had the security editions available as add-ons. And since it's an existing customer, we go and visit those customers and do the customer feedback and everything. And they say that, okay, we're facing some issues right now with X and Y and Z thing. I'll have to cut short the meeting right now. And I said, if it's okay, can you share more insights about that? He said, we're facing, in some cases, web port misconfiguration or web server misconfiguration. So, and immediately a thought came into mind because there's a security edition which has these features inbuilt into it. And immediately I showed it to the customer and said, okay, if you upgrade to this edition, over there you'll be able to mitigate that and you'll be able to fix this vulnerability or provide some kind of feedback to your internal auditors because of this port being open and you're having these issues and on which endpoints these ports are open right now. Now they could have done this with internal assessments or firewall policies or any of those things, but that would have taken a longer time. In this case, we were able to just on a plugin, just go and say activate security edition. Automatically the module was activated, and then we were able to go and scan the ports and gave the vulnerabilities in this case. So in this case, immediately, since we are aware about the products were there in the higher edition. The customer was someone who was struggling with it. We were able to bridge those two things together, and that at the end of the day is fulfilling. But at the same time, it gives a bit more trust to the customer, also saying that even if I might not have this feature within the product, if I go and check on it, if I go and check with the product team, they might develop those features, or those features might already be there. I might just have to upgrade to the higher build or the higher versions itself.
Yeah. So while we're talking about capabilities inside Endpoint Central, have you come across any feedback from your customers who were previously using any other competitor products in the market? Something along those lines. Have they told you that Endpoint Central is better, or this particular feature we love the most about Endpoint Central, but we do not have in any other competitive product?
Okay. So as far as competition is concerned, I don't like to talk about my competition because I think my product is the best, and it's not an ego booster of sorts, but. So this is the way I go and approach anyone that who goes and says this product has it, your product doesn't have it. I don't listen to those arguments. I collectively take the input for it. But from a customer's perspective, the underlying theme that I listen from them, or let's say get a feedback from them, is that ManageEngine Endpoint Central is not just one product. It's the multiple connectors which are there. And if we go and talk to the customers, we always go and talk about service desk and Endpoint Central together. And this is the benefit that we have, and this is what the customer is also saying, that I don't need to go and get A, B, and C together. The moment I come to ManageEngine, if I have service desk, Endpoint Central is symbiotically connected in this case. So this is where collaboration or basically integration between different products within the ManageEngine suite is the key point that the customers come and tell us about it.
Okay, yeah, definitely. That's the beauty of ManageEngine. We've got everything inside one suite. So, we have customers in every industry possible, right? In Endpoint Central, let it be healthcare, let it be defense or government sector or education industry, or even banking and finance institutions. So how do you think our UEMS suite of products proves beneficial to companies in every industry?
Okay. So as far as sectors and industries are concerned, what we've noticed is that most of these major sectors that are being talked about follow one or the other security guidelines or compliance criteria. And it all boils down to the push which is there for cyber security and hardening the posture of whatever is in the endpoints itself. Now, endpoints, as the name suggests, right, it is being used by the end users, and they are most susceptible to cybersecurity threats and everything. So, across the sectors and all the industry heads, they basically focus on making sure that how do I secure the endpoints which are no longer in a confined environment now because of the pandemic and with the shift from work from home or roaming users. So wherever the endpoint is, it has to be secured, and no matter the sector that they represent, the data is something which can be misused if at all it's not in the right hands. So securing the endpoint is something which is very, very critical. And starting with defense, banking, to retail for that matter, also they take these things quite seriously. We get a lot of inquiries from UAE specifically because since we represent that region, but at the same time it comes as a request from retail sectors or real estate sectors saying that okay, we have certain salespeople, we give them tablets, we give them mobile devices, they're always on the road. Now, how do I secure those devices which are no longer in a confined environment? But in this case, I'm not talking about conventional endpoints. I'm talking about iPads, Galaxy tabs, phones. How do we secure that? So across the board, no matter what the device is, it needs to be secured. And administrators are taking note of that, and they're using Endpoint Central to make sure everything falls under the single roof. From a security side of it, from management side of it, from inventory side of things also. So this is something that is a global thing, not just within UAE, but any of the sectors that we go and talk to, they basically say the same things.
Yeah, great. So while we're on the topic of distributed workforce, I'm getting questions from, the answers that you're giving. So while we're on that topic, do you have any advice or best practices for IT admins who are, managing distributed workforce in their organizations?
I shouldn't, but I want to say it. Choose cloud.
Okay.
That makes things much more easier for SMEs or SMBs for that matter, because from Zoho's data centers, endpoints are hosted and running over there. If you have less than 200 endpoints, it's a very easy place to start managing those endpoints. But from a distributed workforce perspective, if we talk about that, right, Endpoint Central has made leaps and bounds of enhancements, and they brought in this concept called summary server last year. This changes the game from what was basically a distribution server, which is nothing but a glorified file server, to a summary server logic itself. So, any size of organizations, let's say if they have more than 200 to 300 endpoints, and if they're distributed on the outside, and some of the users are going to be roaming but clustered in a specific location, having a distribution point helps. But let's say the more you upscale and the more you have to expand, you can definitely leverage the structures in which the product is designed. So it can start off from an SMB to mid-size enterprise to global enterprise. The product is designed to basically go to any of the maximum level itself.
Okay, thank you. So, you mentioned that you are working with Elitser for the past 13 years or so. So definitely you were working with Endpoint Central since then, which was previously Desktop Central. So can you share your experience with the evolution of Desktop Central from being a CMT to an EMT and now a UEM software?
Again, it's been an evolution with the way my progression has also happened. So initially just being a patch management solution, and then doing softwares, and then doing software for third parties, and doing for across the operating system. That was one of the first milestones that I was able to basically witness. But the moment OS deployment came into picture, the moment MDM started becoming a bit of prominence, this is the point when I started noticing, saying that okay, the name Desktop Central is something which is not doing the justice for us, because desktop is a very dated concept in the term itself. But that was the second MDM and OS deployer coming as part of that. And then the session recording that happens from a remote session perspective, session auditing that happens on it. So this was something as a feature even I talk about right now to the customers. So if I have to go and do an elevator pitch to someone which is only going to go 2-3 minutes, list down a few points, I go and say patch management, software deployment, OS deployment, MDM, remote control. And if I do this 5 or 6 things, the customer is already peaked and they would want to know more about it. So this is what it. But then the transition which has happened in the last 2.5 years with security edition and the things that you added onto the security edition itself. So it's no longer a solution that customers go and say, okay, I'm just going to buy it to basically deploy the patches, or I just use it to deploy the patches. So yeah, I mean, it's a one-shop all, and that's the evolution that I am most surprised. But at the same time, I would never have doubted the team to come up with these kind of features. But I'm just looking forward to the features which are going to come now after this. Where do we go from here? Because the competition is quite stiff, and we want to make sure that we stay relevant at the same time in the corporate path itself.
Thank you. So, as our final question, Abhishek, what is Endpoint Central to you?
It is still desktop centric to me, but yeah, I mean, I've learned this product when I first joined the team about 12 years back, and I always am excited to go and talk about this product to the customers. And I look forward to the new features that the team is going to bring and what they've talked about. And I can't wait to go and talk the same to my customers.
Thank you. That's a wrap on this episode. Until next time, this is Sioli signing off.